Thank you for watching this presentation, and hopefully it will lead to you inviting us to come to your offices to give you a much more comprehensive demonstration. Remember, you can click at the bottom of this video screen to stop the presentation at any time if you'd like more time to examine the information that is displayed. The MRRS resides on an I series, formerly known as an AS400. However, in addition to our system, we take advantage of many other commonly used software packages like Word, Excel, and Crystal Reports. The database can be directly accessed by SQL and Crystal Reports, and also, as you will see, the data can be transferred into a spreadsheet that is in an easy-to-use format. The MRRS system can receive its data on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis. The MRRS functions like any Internet application. You can point and click, there are function buttons, and many lists that will allow you to drill down and access more and more detailed information. This presentation focuses on how an underwriter or management can utilize this package to understand and manage a portfolio. Let's start by clicking the Results Analyzer button. You are now looking at the quarterly results of financial year 2010. You can see the premium and claim details of the current year. In effect, you are looking at a gross income statement based on the input of your application systems. Let's look at these results on a Crystal report. I'm going to click the Op button, and then I'm going to click the Quarterly button to create the report on the screen. As you can see, the report has a graph. If you have an in-house Crystal report expertise, we can train your personnel to work with our data. You can see this report not only contains financial numbers, but also policy and claim counts that will help you with personnel decisions. Scrolling down the screen, you can see the different financial years and see whether there is growth or decline in the book of business. Now, let's go back to the original screen. Now, let's look at some of the functionality of the MRRS. We will take the gross results and show you how easy it is to break them down and see where the profit or loss is coming from. The push buttons displayed at the bottom of the screen will execute different functions when clicked. Let's click the button labeled DP, which is short for Department. You are now looking at the results from the previous screen broken down by department or profit center. We can see that our fictional company is predominantly a marine and aviation writer, but has a substantial direct property and casualty book of business. For the purpose of this presentation, we will do some analysis of the direct property and casualty portfolio, but first let me show you some functionality. What you are looking at is a list. Think of it as the same as doing a Google search, and a list of matches is displayed. You can then click on one of the matches and more information comes up. It is the same process here. I'm going to double-click the direct property and casualty line and more information will appear. What you are looking at now is a list of every risk that makes up the financial year numbers of the direct property and casualty profit center. I can use the up and down buttons to scroll through the list. Or I even could use the page up and down buttons on your keyboard, just like any other Internet application. I could click on any line on this list and have access to the financial numbers of the risk, but we will see that later on in this demonstration, so let's go back. The top left-hand corner has input boxes. I'm going to double-click the field labeled Department to get a list of the values that have been brought over from your system. Remember the results amount. I'm going to double-click the direct property and casualty, and you will be able to see the numbers change, and the results of the selected profit center will be shown. Let's see how easy it is to create a spreadsheet. I'm going to click the Options button again and then click Spreadsheet. I'm going to grab the September transactions and then click Create a Spreadsheet. When we explain the layout of this spreadsheet, you will see that it is easy to use and will be able to create exhibits for board meetings, purchasing your reinsurance protections, and many other functions. Being able to create spreadsheets by a non-IT department should relieve the workload of your systems personnel. So let's go back and see what some of the other buttons at the bottom of the screen do. We can see that this department has an incurred loss amount of just over $4.5 million. If we click the button labeled INC or Incurred, we will get a list of every claim that makes up this amount. We can see that the first claim is creating half of the incurred amount. Like any list, we can click on that line and get more information. We can now see that this claim is the result of Hurricane Ike. This immediately tells me the book is covering catastrophic events. Let's go back and see some more information about the direct property and casualty portfolio. If we click the button labeled Coverage, CVG, we can see the numbers distributed based on the actual coverages that have been written. What we are looking at is what you would expect to find from a direct property and casualty writer. However, if this was a reinsurance book of business, you might see these numbers broken out by casualty, proportional, non-proportional, or cat, or something to that effect. We can see that the premises operations are not showing very good results for this financial year. Clicking on this line will provide a list of all the contracts with their current year's results. You can scroll through the list. So now let's select a risk and see the information provided. Let's go direct to the statistics. You are now looking at the inception to date results of this risk. Just a note, if you were using the MRRS to analyze a renewal, you would end up here for any given risk. The button on the right labeled MRRS Info will allow us to see some other features that are provided by our software. The MRRS provides an imaging system. You can attach to your PC a scanner and scan any documents and link them to the risk. For this policy, a deck page was created. Remember, the documents can be anything: inspection reports, treaty wordings, or even pictures. Let's go back. You also have the ability to create a Word document and record any notes pertaining to the risk. Let's go back. You can even create a spreadsheet with all the transactions related to the risk, but we've already seen a similar function, so let's go back. You are now looking at the inception to date results of this contract. If we click the button labeled Development, we can see the numbers associated with each underwriting year. Although this contract is showing poor results for the financial year, the risk as a whole has been very profitable over the last 10 years. Let's go back to the total screen. The Incurred button will display all claims that have been incurred with a short description. You can click any item in the list and go into the actual data entered by the claims department, but we'll do that another time. Let's go back. You have all the information you need from these screens to go through the renewal process, but looking at an individual risk will not tell you whether the portfolio is profitable. You need to look at its entirety and development. Let's go back to the original screen. Let's go back to the department screen and now click the Inception to Date button. Let's get the inception to date results of the direct property and casualty department. You are now looking at the total results for each underwriting year for the direct property and casualty profit center. We can click the coverage button and see the different lines of business this department has written. We can see the premises operations coverage on an inception basis has been profitable. Let's go back. I'm now going to select just the premises line of business. We can now click the Claim button and see the different types of claims that we have incurred within the portfolio for premises. These are the different claims accumulated by the type of claim code selected by the claims department. Of course, we can click any line and start to analyze each different claim, but we will leave that for another time. To truly analyze your results, you must look at the numbers by underwriting year and develop them out. By clicking the triangle button, we will have the option of creating either a PDF file for printing or an HTML file to look at on the screen. Let's select the HTML button. This is a development triangle. You can see at the top the selection criteria describing what numbers we're looking at. The columns of numbers represent the financial years of the company, and each page has the numbers for an individual underwriting year. The numbers in this section are cumulative. In other words, each column has the financial year numbers added to the previous. The total amount of premium for underwriting year 2004 is just over $1.5 million. The individual financial year numbers show the impact the underwriting year 2004 had on the income statement of each year. Looking at the incurred line, we can see that there is claim activity for several years after the inception of the contracts. This can assist your actuarial department in calculating the loss development factors for your IBNR reserves. Now let's go to the grand total pages. We can see that the company has written just over $12 million of premises business from inception. There are some other interesting numbers to look at. We can see the number of risks that incepted in each year and the claim activity. These numbers can help with the personnel decisions that are made within your company. Now let's go back and look at one more option that this program provides. I'm going to click the Underwriting Year button. The information displayed is for an individual underwriting year. I'm going to select contracts coded as commercial general liability. The previous button will allow you to go back and look at older underwriting years. Although this is not an exact science, these underwriting year screens can give you an indication of how the market is trending. If you look at the average renewal premium for underwriting year 2007, and then page forward and look at 2008, 9, and 10, we can see the market was softening during this period. This concludes our presentation. We have only touched on a small portion of the information that the MRRS can provide you. We hope you will allow us to come to your place of business and give you a much more thorough demonstration. We thank you for watching this video.